Hi, welcome to Kingdom Tools Tutorials. In this edition, we're going to be talking about how to use reports on attendance to show an individual's overall activities, whether they've been present or they've been absent across all your ministries and all your different events. So first we'll start in reports. Click on reports. Then we're going to be on a attendance tab, events missed and present, and the first option you're going to get is to select the ministry that you want to report on. To select a ministry, you can use your control key and just click individual ones to add them, or you can hold your shift key and select arrange so that you can get multiples. For this example, we're just going to select everything. The next step is to select your date range, and for this report we're going to just choose all of February. Click continue. And again, you can choose the events. These are all the events that you've taken attendance for. So if you see an event or you don't see an event in here, it's probably because you have not taken attendance for this month, or you didn't take attendance for that event during the time period you selected a couple screens back. So we're going to use our shift key and click and select all of our events. Now we have to tell the report which fields that we want to have returned to us. You can select any fields from the system, and they don't have to be fields for criteria. This is just information that you want to see on your report. So we're going to select our first and our last name. We're going to select email address. I think an important one too is maybe the primary family relationship, because sometimes kids or people have different last names, and you want to know if it's a young kid or somebody, which parent to go talk to. And then we're also going to choose home phone and cell phone. And you can see over here we can also move these things up and down to show how they're going to present themselves on the report. Going to click continue. Now we have a filtering choice. And if you don't have to apply a filter if you don't want. If you don't apply a filter, it's just going to return everybody for these events. It could be a long report, depending on how many events, how many ministries, and the time period you chose. In this case, what we're trying to show you is how to do a report for an individual or groups of individuals. If you want right now, instead of just choosing a last name, you could also choose something like, say, age, and do greater than 64. So I'll show everybody who's 65 and above in your church, and you can get a report on your senior citizens, see how everybody's doing. In this case, we do want to do a last name. If you select equals, then you have to enter exactly case sensitive and exact spelling. If you spell last name is Johnson and it's lowercase J-O-H-N, it's not going to return anybody unless you enter them with a lowercase. So it's a good option to use matches. In matches, it doesn't matter if you enter a partial name, as long as you spell it right, or uppercase or lowercase. It's going to have everything in there. So if you put in J-O-H-N, it's going to turn John, Johnson, Johnston, if they spell it J-O-H-N-S-T. You know, everybody that has whatever you entered, partial or full. Okay, so now we're going to look for an individual with the last name of Backslider. Could be an individual, or it could be the family. In this case, I know there's only one person with the last name Backslider in our database. I'm going to click continue. I could also add new conditions in there if I wanted to put in a first name to be specific to one person. For additional options, we can either choose to report on both absent and present, or just present, or just absent. And a trick that we like to show you here is if you enter a -1 for times present is greater than -1, and the same for times absent, this will give us absolutely every single record that they were supposed to be at, that attendance was taken, or their name wasn't on. This is a full, complete report. If I added in here like times absent is greater than 1, that means I'm giving them some grace. For that time period, say for the month, I allow them to be absent once, or maybe just for the quarter, and it's not going to return them in this report for that event if they were absent only once. In this case, we want everything, so we're going to select -1 and continue. This is the last page for generating a report, and in here you have your option of changing the report title that's going to print out on the report we're about to generate. You can run it HTML. It's going to generate the report, put it in your web page. You can also choose a tab delimited. This also generates a web page, but it's formatted for tab delimited, which means you can save that web page as a text file, and then later on you can import it into Excel or OpenOffice or some spreadsheet program that allow you to manipulate the data. Additionally, you can choose a folder over here for saved reports and give it a unique name, and you can revisit this report and then maybe just change the date range or change the person's name or follow up on this individual later. It's their personal private report, so that you can keep tabs on them and you don't have to go through the complete setup. In this case, we're going to run the HTML report, and you'll see that it's opened up a new tab here, and we have the report, church name, the time period that you've chosen, and which ministries, and then you'll see the date range. Church service is our first event, and you'll see that Bobby Baxsider is the son in the family address and everything. I guess it wasn't entered as record, but in this case we show that he has not been present this month, and he's been absent twice, and therefore we've taken 2 absent records. The Faith Alive activity, Bobby was absent once and not present, and then the ministry staff meeting, he's not supposed to attend, so you won't see his name here. How do we know that he wasn't supposed to attend? Well, it's very important that when you're taking attendance, right over here, this is our attendance tool. You'll see that Bobby's right over here and still in the persons list. He's not in the absent list. He's not in the present list. The system does not naturally assume that if you take only present attendance, that everybody else is obviously absent. The system does not do that. The system requires you to state who is absent and who is present. So if I wanted to make John over here, and I can add him to our present, and then I can add Bobby to the absentees, he's now in the absent. Therefore, you're not adding a lot of data to your database just because you want to assume that if you're only taking presents, everybody else is absent. The system is going to err on the side of keeping a lighter database, and that if you're not entering them as absent or you're not entering them as present, they were not supposed to attend that event. So we're going to go ahead and we'll just save that record. Now we've updated it, and if I reran our report, Bobby would also show that he attended up for the Faith Alive rather than being absent, or for the ministry meeting. So therefore, again, remember that if you want to make sure that you get a good absentee report while you're taking attendance, you need to mark people absent. Otherwise, they will not have an absent record in their profile.